Well, handball with Harvey, he was in a lot of groups, but handball was a twofold exercise. The first part of it is he chased four adult men, chased this little round ball in an enclosed court, hitting this hard ball with your hand, bumping into each other, straining ligaments and tendons and bumping, and we would never admit anything hurt. You could never admit it was hurt. After about 45 minutes of sweating and grunting and groaning, we were called the walking wounded by friends in the locker room.
Tons of stories, but there were certain things that we used to do to make it easier for cadets. He would go play racquetball at lunchtime, and when he would come back, if he won, he was always in a really good mood. So we would send our favorite cadets in to see him, and usually he didn't give them a really bad time. If he lost, we'd keep him away until the next day. But we used to manage him like that.
I remember one day I was wearing my ring in a dress, and I made the comment of, "Colonel, this ring doesn't match my outfit." And he said, "It's not supposed to. I didn't want you here, Dina, but I love you anyway." Thank you very much for all of your love and support, and we are going to miss you.
This was our senior year. There was another hurricane coming in off the coast, and of course I had gone to visit some of my friends from the College of Charleston who were some young ladies who were afraid of the storm, and we were going to make sure that they got through it okay. And so we were going to have to be late getting in. So the girls called Colonel Dick's house to see if it would be okay if we stayed over to protect them. And as Colonel Dick and Marge would have it, said, "Don't worry about that, girls. Y'all just come on to our house and we'll take care of you." So Colonel Dick never really understood the entire purpose of cadets at that time. But
when we were young officers at Fort Bliss, Texas, I invited his family over to our house for a cookout. And the charcoal wasn't getting the way I wanted it to quick enough. And the old cars had a sediment bowl that collected gasoline. So I said, "Harvey, I'll just pour a little gasoline on it," which I did. And it went right on up my arm, and I had to roll over on the ground and put it out. And he says, "Okay, Delbert, we got to go to the hospital now." So when we got to the hospital, they said, "Okay, what happened?" And before I could say anything, Colonel Dick, who wasn't a colonel back then, but he said, "This Delbert dumbass is trying to improve on napalm." So he threw gasoline on fire. And he just loved to tell that story about me.
When I was a cadre squad sergeant, one of my knobs was late coming back on campus. He was pulled at the front gate, he was pulled at the battalion, and he was pulled in the company for being late. So the demerits for each of those offenses put him over the limit for the month, and he was given confinements. So I went to Colonel Dick's office and argued that it was double jeopardy, that he had been pulled 3 times basically for the same offense of being late, and that the demerits should be reduced, and that way he would not be confined to campus. And I can remember Colonel Dick looking at me, and he said, "Son, you're absolutely right. In fact, I'm going to take away all his demerits." And as a cadre squad sergeant, I didn't think that was right. And I challenged him. I said, "Well, sir, I'm only asking that you take away the 10 extra demerits. He was late, and all those other demerits for the month he deserves, but at least this way he won't be confined to campus." And Harvey said, "Son, if I want to be generous, who are you to tell me that I cannot be?"
Jenkins Hall used to have a Jenkins Hall Christmas party, and Colonel Dick would dress up as Santa Claus. And unfortunately, during one of the Christmas parties, we had a couple of cadets that were going to be leaving school, and he had to tell them because it was just before furlough. So Colonel Dick was in his office in a Santa Claus suit going, "Son, I have to tell you this." But it was one of the funniest things, not for the cadet, but for one of the funny things that Colonel Dick did. But it was a hoot working with him, and he was just a fine, fine man. We're going to miss him a lot.
There was something about Colonel Dick that everyone will admit to today. Is whenever you met Colonel Dick, he left in you a lasting impression, and it was always a positive one.
I just remember the Sunday dinners and going over to the Colonel's house and Gidget jumping in the laps and helping Mrs. Dick prepare the food, and just makes you feel like you have a family away from home, and there's nothing better than that.
I met Colonel Dick 30 years ago. My husband, Doug Snyder, had just graduated from the Citadel, and we started dating, and we came to Charleston for New Year's Day. And he and some of his friends, including Dietrich von Lee, who was in law school with me, said, "Let's go by and see this man called Colonel Dick." And he lived on campus. We went by about 10 o'clock on New Year's Day. We left at 11:30 that night. We stayed all day in the I Love Me room. And I had just started dating Doug, and I thought, this is so much fun. I think I might just keep dating him.
When he gave up smoking, that was just like a bear in his office because he was so grouchy and so moody. And we'd tell the cadets, "Don't go in there. He's quit smoking." They'd go, "Oh God, no," and then they'd have to come back.
Great. We still got a house case.
I lost it as usual, Colonel. Members of the class of '83 here, to Colonel Dick, we love you. You are an inspiration in our life, and you help make us who you are today. God love you. We will miss you. Here's
Here.
Delbert.